Hey Sam,
Hello.
how you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Oh, doing pretty well. Pretty well. Glad the link worked.
Yeah, it did. It worked, and I saw like, oh, I have to click join. So I clicked join.
I was wondering why you weren't in. I'm like, oh, he said it worked, and now he's not in. And I'm like, oh, I just posted that to Facebook. So hopefully, some more people join in shortly. So I guess let's we can get started. What kind of questions were you having with start? I guess you're looking to start a podcast, right?
I'm thinking it's like one of those things that's out there, but I just haven't really pursued it. It's just like I really don't know much about it and how I would get started. So it's really novice questions I probably can look up in Google and find out.
Well, I mean, looking up stuff, can take forever. That's for sure. I know because I've done it, and I continue to do it. So it's definitely not the best way to go about it, especially if you have people at your disposal to figure out some of this stuff. So, I mean, do you have like an idea? Like, first off, do you have an idea for your show?
I have an idea what I would want to talk about, I guess. I don't know if I want to do more like an interview type show or just me talking. I find it more interesting for shows that like have guests and like interview, and I find that a little more interesting when there's actually conversation as
Hmm.
opposed to me just talking. I think there's a lot more benefit in like a discussion on how to deal with issues and problems and situations.
So yeah, I think that the whole interview having guests, guest speakers and stuff like that could definitely help because you don't have to come up with content like. Well, how often do you plan on releasing?
Well, if this be it would be a weekly podcast probably to start.
I mean, 52 topics is a lot unless you're like really on top of your game as far as knowing what it is you would want to talk about every single day of every week.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I have to do now. I have to come up with topics every day to talk about as being an author and speaker and just getting out there. I have to pretty much come up with a topic a day.
Oh wow. Wow, man, that's an awful lot. How do you go about doing that? Like, do you have like a process for it at this point?
No, whatever comes up. It could be anything. It could be really anything that comes up. It's really interesting. And I'll just see something on TV and just make a comment about it or talk about it. It's just one of those things where I'm just doing little blurbs, but not really long discussions. But when I write these blog posts that I do, then it is a long discussion. Like I wrote a blog today on the mind is a liar.
Wow. Uh, so all right. So then, well, that's good. I mean, at least you could, I guess, technically do a podcast on your own if you so chose to. But I do agree that it's definitely better to have somebody go in it with you. I mean, that's what I do is the whole interview style. But I do some episodes that are different, just not every episode.
Right. And that's what I mean with podcasting. I don't know like the basics, like the equipment. How do you get your podcast up? How do you get on like iTunes? How do you get it out to Android? I mean, there's a lot of questions out there. I just don't know.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I would figure out first like what your show's going to be about and how you want to get it structured and all that. Because a lot of that I feel is really important, more so than the technical side of it. So I mean, like getting it on iTunes. I mean, do you use WordPress for your blog?
Yes.
So there's I mean, this is what I personally do. I know other people use other stuff, but if you say had the plugin PowerPress from Blueberry, have you heard of it?
That sounds a little familiar. Yeah.
So it integrates right into into WordPress. And basically it's like a 3-step process to get started, and then it actually takes you like through the steps of what you need to do, and then it adds like a box to each post that where you could add like a media file. So what I do is I host all the files locally on that server. I don't have like a separate host just for my podcast,
Right.
which other people do. I don't know. I haven't seen any reasons why you should or shouldn't. I could see where it might slow your server down if you had like a ton of hits going to the website and a ton of people downloading your podcast. But I mean, you're probably a ways off from having that happen, I would think.
Right. That's when you're just starting and just getting it out there, and then looking at the other equipment that I need for like microphone and everything else, because I'm just using this computer right now and that's not going to quite work for a podcast. It's not clear enough like yours is really clear.
Oh well, thank you. I mean, this is just a Blue Yeti mic.
Okay.
It's like it runs about $100 online. It's nice because would you be doing a lot of interviews like with somebody in front of you, like right there?
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably over the phone or something like that.
I mean, personally, I like the blue series. The blue Snowball is great because it's especially I think the Ice edition's even a little bit cheaper because it's just a single mic in there, where this has 3 mics in it, so you can it has 1 mic facing you and then 2 mics facing the rear, and you can actually change the pattern, so whether it's like it's pulling just from this mic, or it could pull from both, or it could pull from like the whole room, depending on what you're doing. And for me, it's been extremely valuable because I have had guests come here to do interviews, but I've also used the mic for like roundtable discussions and stuff like that. Now it's hard to edit. It's not ideal for editing purposes, but when it comes to like, hey, I got my laptop and I got this mic and I just plug in a USB cable and I turn on Audacity and I hit record and we just go to town. It definitely helps. But since you would just be doing it yourself, I mean, I think the Snowball, let's see, Amazon.com. Oh, hey, David.
Hey, man.
Not too much. Are you still freezing?
No, we just kind of holed up in the garage out here. It's heated with its own unit. So.
Are you gonna sleep out there?
No, luckily our bedroom's upstairs and there's baseboard heating up there. So,
oh, awesome.
Yeah, we're good for a while.
Sam, this is David. David, Sam.
Hi, David. Nice to see you.
You too.
I'm helping Sam get his podcast ideas and equipment and all that good stuff, formulated here.
Okay.
David is a pretty experienced podcaster himself.
Yeah, moderately.
What's your podcast, David?
It's the Passionate DJ podcast.
The Passionate DJ. Okay, I'll look it up.
PassionateDJ.com.
So the snowballs run like $50 to $60 versus the $100 to $120 for the Blue Yeti, and basically I think the normal snowball without not the Ice edition is actually includes oh, hey there, hey Jamie.
Can't hear anybody. Hold on.
Siri. Let's see.
Okay, now I can hear people.
Oh, welcome, Jamie.
Hello.
Hi, Jamie.
What's your podcast about, Jamie?
I actually run a network. Second Course Media.
Right.
Yeah. So I started off a couple years ago talking about Hannibal, the TV show, and then it's grown from there. Now there's Constantine and just Better Call Saul and The Walking Dead. So I'm looking to grow.
So I was just walking Sam through his
discovery process.
Yeah, discovery.
Okay.
There you go, discovery process of like equipment and stuff like that. And was pointing him towards a cheap, cheaper USB microphone like the Blue Yeti like I'm using here, or a Snowball, since he would just be a one man doing his interviews online.
Okay, that makes sense because I don't have any USB mics, but if you're just one person, the USB mic makes total sense.
Yeah, I'd agree. Especially if you are going to maybe travel and do some recording.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you planning on traveling?
Yeah, I plan to travel quite a bit.
Yeah, that makes sense because you need to be portable. I'm going out to California in like a month and a half, and I have to take my equipment with me, and I haven't bought a gig bag yet, so I have to go buy like a $50 gig bag just to take that stuff with me.
If you're looking for a gig bag, I would look at UDG or
UDG?
UDJ. UDJ.
Let me write that down.
I think it's. Hold on a second. No, it is UDG. I was incorrect. It's Ultimate DJ Gear, and this bag has been all across America with me. It's big enough to fit clothes, and they got like a pouch for the headphone. Oh, actually, you can see I got a Blue Yeti Ice.
Oh wow!
Here. As well as an ATR 1200 or 2100 here, but yeah, it's awesome, man. It's got plenty of pouches and space, and there's another spot here, and nice big pouches on the side. Like I said, it's an awesome bag, and it's very well built. It's a little pricey.
Oh, I subscribed to a Google Hangout for a podcast earlier in the week. It's on it now.
What's up, Anthony?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Anthony.
Hello, Anthony.
Sorry, I was just setting up my my app on my phone for the Hangout, so it was taking a second.
No problem. What's your podcast about?
It's about a little bit of everything. It mainly is it follows along the same lines of a book I'm working on, and it has to do with kind of like keeping yourself motivated through hard times and how to hopefully overcome some obstacles and things of that nature.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. I'm kind of just getting into it, but it's cool.
We were discussing Sam. Oh, real quick, Sam, why don't you and then David talk about what your podcasts are about?
Yeah, my podcast, I'm not quite sure when I'm going to do my podcast, but I do have a book that's out there, and I have my second book that I'm writing now. And it's very close to Anthony, where it's all about overcoming obstacles, because I was a very sick and disabled man at one point. I had multiple sclerosis, I had bipolar, had no more signs of that, no more medicine, no cane. So I overcame a lot of obstacles, a lot of massive obstacles I overcame by changing my mindset. So I'd probably do something along those lines for my podcast. I'm not really sure what I would call it, based on my book, Don't Dwell, or The Mind's a Liar, or something to that effect.
Cool. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Mine is a little more niched down. Mine's the Passionate DJ podcast. I present it as becoming better DJs through passion and purpose. So I kind of talk some tech, but primarily I focus on kind of the psychology and the kind of mental aspects of crowd reading and how to control the dance floor and those kind of things. The more abstract things are what interest me. So we talk a lot about that. I've been running it for a year and a half, but I've only come out with 14 episodes. So it's one of those things that I've been doing for a while but haven't done much of. I'll put it that way. Mm. So I'm really hoping to this year really ramp it up to maybe like a weekly show or something like that.
Cool.
And Jamie, you real quick, what your podcasts are about?
I started podcasting about TV a few years ago because I'm a big TV nerd. And as I told some of the other people beforehand, that I started talking about the TV show Hannibal, and now it's kind of blossoming into a bit of a network. Includes Constantine, The Walking Dead, and I have a couple friends that they do soul searching, or it's Better Call Saul, but they call it soul searching for my network. So
So, so Sam, yeah, I would look at getting a USB mic, like specifically. I'll put this in the chat room. The Snowball, and then have you used Audacity at all
No,
or
I
any
haven't
other
used
recording?
No, I haven't used. That's what I mean. It's all new for me. Just getting it started. The book's out there now. Now I needed to just get my voice out there more. So that's why I'm looking like podcasting to get my voice out there more. And if I could interview folks and just talk about, initially I'd probably just talk about myself in the book and my process, then bring other guests in that reinforce my ideas. Like I'd imagine like Anthony would be like a great resource because it sounds like his is along the same lines as myself. So it would actually be a good person to actually interview. Like people like this are just coming over these obstacles, writing books, motivation, all that type of stuff is all interrelated.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, that sounds great. I'm gonna have to definitely keep in touch with you on that because it sounds like something I'd be interested in too. I had a lot of trouble with depression also since about 2004. So that's kind of like what I'm working with like the whole thing, kind of like working things out and obviously networking with good people such as yourselves and just keeping going forward, man.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Hanging out with the depression, it's very tough. I know I was very suicidal there for a time back in the 90s, but I don't have any more of that now. I've overcome all of it.
That's cool.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
cool.
yeah, it's really good.
So, all right. So you'll get the microphone, you'll get Audacity, you'll record, and then we talked about the PowerPress. Did you write that down? The PowerPress
Yeah, I have that. I wrote that down. Yeah.
plugin, and then it'll give you the link that you can submit to iTunes, and that'll get you. I'll put that in there, and then I think it's like iTunes submit podcast. And I mean that should give you. Oh, here you go. Actually, this is the link to that. So that should be enough to at least get you started. Get your mic in order and start figuring out like what it is you specifically want to talk about episode to episode, coming up with the topics and writing them out. And another big thing, and I don't know if you guys would agree, but I mean I definitely think it's a big deal is recording several episodes out ahead. At
Like
least
pre-recorded?
4. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. I actually just got my mic and my headphones and stuff in the mail this week.
Oh, what'd you go with?
I just got a Behringer. I actually got it's right here, Podcast Studio.
Oh, I
Okay.
didn't even know they made that.
Yeah, I've seen
it's,
that.
it's relatively inexpensive, but this is a new venture for me, so I wasn't ready to spend a ton of money. But it came with a mic, it came with a mixer, headphones, and a little stand for the microphone. So basically, right now I just got to get everything hooked up, and it's like you were talking about with the USB, the plug and play.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to just get the software put on my computer and stuff like that. So I should be up and running with that pretty soon, hopefully.
Which kit did you go with?
It's Podcast Studio Professional Bundle.
Huh. I'm looking right now at what's on Amazon. I see 2 or 3 here. Different setups. Huh. It's interesting that they just came up with their own bundle of stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty decent. I mean, I opened it up and took a look at everything, and it's relatively it's beginner type stuff. So I'm sure it's not the greatest in the world, but I read a lot of reviews on it, and most of the people that get it working properly don't really have a problem at all. So I figured it'd be a good way to start.
Mm-hmm.
It really doesn't have to be perfect either.
Yeah, I mean, right now when I record, I use my phone and headphones. I use the microphone right directly from my headphones. So
My previous episode, before this last one, I was actually out of town, and I recorded it straight onto my iPad using the iPad internal mic, and I just went into a quiet room, and nobody really noticed a difference. It sounded pretty decent.
Yeah.
Nobody complained, so must have been good enough.
Yeah, it can be tough to get good audio. Even with a good mic, it can be tough to get good audio. A lot of times it's the way the room is, if there's reverb or anything. I know that having the drum set behind me is a big pain in the butt because it likes to reverb off of the drum
The
heads.
cymbals.
The cymbals and the snare drum underneath is depending on the bass that's coming out of my speakers that are like up
Oh, you got
above my head.
monitors above you?
Yeah, they
That's cool.
so they're up here. See how they're like up on so it's so when I DJ,
Very cool.
you can actually see like they're it's like right at my ears. It just sucks when I'm using my computer because it's not at my ears. It's like up and over my head, but I get used to it.
Cool.
So what other kinds of like problems or issues have you guys had so far with your podcast or getting started?
Well, it's a good thing that you're going it alone, because one of the biggest challenges I have had was keeping a consistent co-host that if you end up doing weekly, like having someone that will commit to the same time every week was a big challenge for me at the beginning. So Hannibal's on its second co-host, and one of my other podcasts, the guy was pretty consistent because I went to his location every week. So if you ever do decide, Sam, to bring someone in as a co-host, make sure it's someone that understands the time that this takes and the level of commitment that doing a podcast is going to be, because there will be people who will flake on you.
Right. That's good to know. Yeah. I'll probably do it solo and just bring in guests on occasion. I can't imagine doing some of the co-hosts because I can't imagine like all the complications and what bad weather and everything else, especially in my area. It would be a real feat.
I always just assumed if you're going to have a co-host, they got to live with you. I mean, that's just, I thought that just went without saying.
That would be convenient. No, but that's great, man, about interviewing guests. That's a great idea, too. I think you got something going with that. I'd definitely stick with that, for sure.
I think it's a lot more dynamic of a conversation.
Yeah, I like to rotate co-hosts. I think that's what I want to get into this year, so that there's always somebody that I'm kind of back and forth with, but I don't have to rely on that schedule of somebody committing to, once a week or whatever. Try to get a couple of people in on it and provide some different voices, different perspectives anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it does help with promoting, but probably not as much as you may want it to. I mean, they sell it as if you have guests on, they'll share it out all the time, everywhere, and everyone that, is interested in their work is going to run to your work, and that's just not the case.
It would be nice.
Yeah.
They're just as worried about spamming their audience as we are, so...
Well, that's part of it too, right? I mean, but some people, it's like they just aren't going to share it. Especially a lot of the bigger the name, the less likely they are to want to share, your episode out. Especially because they're probably on a lot of different shows, so it would just their whole feed would just be like everybody else's show.
Yeah, I ran into that too with some of the interviews that I've done. You get an initial spike of people listening, but then it drops off after a day or two. Mm-hmm. So
it does, and then a lot of times those guests probably won't, or those listeners probably won't just keep on listening unless they found whatever you have going on in your show that much better than everything else.
Mm-hmm. And what I would say is do not obsess over statistics. I think when I first started, I would check 5 times a day how many hits I was getting and how many page views.
The other day, that's funny you say that.
So,
but that's part of it. That's part. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
I was just gonna say Google real-time analytics have ruined me.
Yeah, but you see, Dave, you're the guy that's getting 300 hits a day, regardless of if you write a post or not.
What?
Actually,
300 hits a day? I'd love to get that many hits.
I know, me too.
recently it's been 700-ish. It's been doing really good since.
Say 700 a day?
What?
Not the podcast, not the podcast specifically, but passionatedj.com.
Okay,
that's
but
great.
at 700 hits a day, you need to be getting sponsors. You need to be asking people to.
Yeah, that's where I'm headed. I'm working on. I want to build the podcast side of things. I spent kind of the last year focusing on the blog, and now I really want to build out the podcast and then try to do sponsorships and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask if you guys had blogs up too. I just started one within the past month and a half. So, to further cross the podcast with the blog and kind of keep everything, almost like what you're talking about, but also put it in a Word format too, because there's so many different types of audiences. Some people want to listen to podcasts, some people just want to read blogs, some people want to do both. So I figured it couldn't hurt.
One always leads to the other.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Right now I have a really pretty good established blog, but I don't have like the podcasting out there. That's the one piece that I see that I'm missing.
Well, that should help you get a lot of listeners. A good friend of mine, Stephanie, she was getting like 1,400 hits a day, sometimes more, on her site, and she started up a podcast. And it was slow at first, but over time it grew a lot faster than it would otherwise, because she already had that constant traffic coming to her site day after day after day. Me personally, I have my separate blog. My blog is separate from my podcast site. And that's because somebody, when I was just getting started, told me, like, oh, no, you got to have something, you got to have it separate because people, for sponsorship purposes and stuff like that, are going to want it separate. I kind of wish it was together now, but they link back and forth, so it doesn't really, and both sites look very similar, so it doesn't look like you're transitioning from one to the other, even though it's a totally different website.
Right.
Yeah, I've never even thought of the idea of doing a blog because my podcasts are all TV based. I do have a news page that I have some people that contribute to, but they don't contribute quite all that often, and so I probably need to find some people that would want to like write some TV news on a consistent basis.
Yeah, there's guest bloggers and stuff out there.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, just put a call out there for like guest bloggers. I'm sure you'll get plenty of people. Writers like to be seen on other websites, so it's real easy to get them. They like the additional cross links and everything. It's very good for them.
Right.
I think with the guest blogging, it definitely helps. Like if you do it for other people's sites, it definitely helps. Just like I feel like I've gotten more people to listen to my show by being on other people's shows rather than having more people on my show.
Right.
I guess that's because people are hearing me and they get a taste of who I am, and then will follow me back if they're that interested, versus if they're coming at all to listen to one specific person and then not coming back because they just aren't that interested in anything else other than that one person.
That's how I've come to follow other blogs and podcasts, is kind of through that chain.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. Like kind of like seeking more information. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially if it's a repeat name that you hear a couple times.
Sure.
Like, hey, I should probably pay attention to so-and-so. I've heard that name before.
Is anyone in the room planning on going to Podcast Movement?
I am. I already have my tickets and everything.
I haven't gotten those yet because I'm taking a trip to California in April for another event. And I'm wondering if I'll have I don't want to miss it because I know it's the second one ever, but I might have to miss it this year. But I was just throwing it out there to see who was going to be going.
Yeah, I would definitely love to go. It's just not in the cards for me right now.
Hey, did you go to the first one?
I did not. No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't go to the first one either because I was in California at the time.
I found out about the first one after it happened.
Okay. Yeah, I plan on being there. Like I said, I already have my ticket and my room and my flight and everything booked. I really, monetarily speaking, I probably shouldn't be going, but it's YOLO,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Man. Right there with you. I
Um,
got a 10-month-old. I know what's up with that.
I mean, I just wanted to throw that out there because I think those kind of conferences are good ways for people to make connections. I don't know if you guys are in the podcast community on Facebook,
I am.
but yeah, that's I think where we met. But Todd Cochran, who runs Blueberry,
Mm-hmm.
he said the way that he ever made all of his connections or got any sponsorships or started monetizing his podcast to the point where he could create Blueberry was by going to conferences. So there's that one in Fort Worth. There's a bunch of other ones that happen out west.
Yeah, I saw that too. I'm down in South Florida, so I think the closest one that's going to come down here is like Orlando or something. But
Well, yeah,
yeah,
there was one just in December in Orlando, and then there was a Fort Lauderdale one just the other week.
see, I just started looking into those like this week. So
You, sir, are in a great position because down there in Florida, it's like that's like like it's San Diego, and then it's all Florida. Like there's just a ton of podcasters down there. It's crazy.
There's a ton of podcasters in Los Angeles too.
Oh, really?
They do an event every September. It's called the Podfest. But because it's LA, you get your big names. Like you get Chris Hardwick and Mark Maron and like Aisha Tyler and all that stuff are at those. Like they're not special guests. They're like the people who actually attend it and present there. But I don't know. But it's my goal like in September to be able to meet. If I can't make the podcast movement, to get out to Podfest out there in LA.
Wait, when is that in September?
The last one they had I think was like September 13th. Hold on, let me.
Let's see. I'm googling it too because
LA.
Where's everybody from?
I'm just outside Philadelphia.
Oh, awesome! High five. I'm right just outside Philly too.
Dayton, Ohio.
September 18th.
Baltimore, Maryland.
and West Palm Beach, Florida for me.
Well, at least one of us is warm.
It's
I seen the fan going there. I'm like, oh man, he must not be from up here where we are.
Yep.
Yeah, 18th to the 20th it was.
Yeah.
So like mid September.
So here's the deal. I am actually working right now to start my own one-day conference up here in just outside of Philly. And where I was talking to Jared Easley, who runs he's one of the guys that runs Podcast Movement, and he's very interested in helping out and making it happen with a sponsorship and a booth and helping make this thing happen. So right now I'm looking at September 12th is the date.
Ah, okay.
Cool.
And it would
Good luck
be
with that.
I'm sorry?
Good luck with that.
Thank you. Right now, my biggest problem is I'm trying to figure out how many people would actually want to come because I have 3 venues. One that supports about 30 people, one that supports about 100 people, and one that supports about 200 people. And they're all under $1,000, so price is not really that big of a... You know what I mean? It's not like the price jumps up and up and up. It's just a matter of, like, what one do I get? Yeah, because, like, one's, like... $400, and the next one up is $800. But the 30 person one is like $100. So I'm just trying to figure out like how many people would actually be interested. And the reason Philly is because with the Podcast Mid-Atlantic, Philly's right in the middle of Connecticut down to Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking to do more than just speakers as well. We want to do like almost like a creative competition and stuff like that, like creative work instead of just like, oh, you show up and like you have a bunch of the same people that show up to all the other conferences and they talk and tell the same story. We really want to make it like a more of an experience than they talk and you listen type thing.
Cool.
Since I'm all new to this podcasting, is there a lot of conferences in the Philadelphia area, or will this be the first one? If there's really no competition, then I would try for like a bigger venue. If it's the only podcasting event in the area, I think you would do really well between New York and DC and Philly.
I think there is one other event. They I think it's in Philadelphia, and it's the Philadelphia Podcast Festival. The last time I posted was August 28th in 2014, and it well, this is the site that I'm looking at. I'll screen share. Where's here we go. So this is their website, and if they're going to do one, I'm assuming it's going to be in August, so it's not even at the same time anyway.
And that might actually be a good venue to have them advertise what you're planning on doing like a month later.
Mm-hmm.
It very well could be. It almost seems like are they recording? Like, because you look at if you look at the schedule, it looks like I don't know. Let's see, the Did You Eat podcast.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to be recording a podcast at that place.
That's what it sounds like to me. Is that's what is going on here? Is they're showing up and they're recording episodes
live on stage.
Yeah. So that's definitely different than what I am looking to do, for sure. But yeah, and they haven't even updated for this upcoming year yet. So who knows what their what their deal is going forward.
Right.
Well, yeah, it could be a good opportunity to advertise if they go forward with doing it. I mean, these are the pictures. Definitely looks like they recorded live episodes together. So yeah, so we'll see. We'll see. But I think I really, like I was telling my wife, I was like, I think I want to go for the big venue. It's like $800. It's at it's actually a high school, a high school gym. So I'm like, I think I could see just doing it and see what happens. What's the worst that could happen? I don't get enough people to fill it. I don't really have to fill it. I just need to have it happen.
Yeah, I think it would do really well. It sounds like your format would do really well. I think there's a need for that. I can see a need for that there. If there's only one and they're not doing something completely different, then and you can build it off a podcast movement. I think it would do really well. I think you'd be really surprised how many people actually show up for it.
I think so. So yeah. So I mean, honestly, I'll probably go with the bigger venue, and I mean, there will be speakers there. We'll do some speakers, but it's not, the whole thing isn't going to be just speakers. There'll be a couple keynote speakers, a couple maybe like 3 or 4 or 5 speakers or something like that, scattered throughout the day. But I really want to create like an environment where people get creative and have like I'm sorry.
Like interactive.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, I've been to other conferences, and it's just like by the end of the day, it's just like I want to gouge my eyes out because I'm just so tired of listening.
A smaller, more kind of intimate type event like that would be conducive to that kind of very active, very interactive, one-on-one, interaction.
Yeah, so that's the other side of it. I was trying to figure out, like, okay, so if I have these ideas, like, we got to be able to set it up so that that many people could participate and make it like so the idea was like, okay, if we have, say, 100 people break off into groups of, like, say 5 or 6, and then we have like a competition where each team has to come up, they have like an hour or an hour and a half or something like that to come up with like a whole new podcast logo, jingle, title, like everything, like soup to nuts. And then each team would present it like in front of everybody, and we would have like a panel of judges, and they would pick maybe like the top 5, and then the top 5 would be like voted on by like crowd cheering or something like that.
Cool, that sounds awesome, man.
I think that would be really fun, but I think that you would have to almost pick the general topic of the podcast for each team in order for it to work. If you're pairing random people together. I know that's part of the challenge, but you're going to make it way harder to get things done if everybody's just arguing over what the fake podcast should be.
What if we just came up with like a whole bunch of topics and we put them like up on a screen or something like that, and people could just pick, so two people pick the same topic. It's just whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's still up to them to make like a creative jingle that they have to actually perform live, and a topic or a topic for the show, and present like an opening and stuff like that. Like, so stuff that's like makes it so they have to think creatively, and I really think that those kinds of things will be what can help people really spark their inspiration to like bring actionable things to their own show, rather than just having someone like, okay, well, this is what I do, da 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 da, and hopefully somebody gets something out of it.
Right. And when you pair people that don't know each other, they're gonna end up working together to create something like that. That conversation about, well, this is what I do and this is how I do things, that's just gonna happen organically. And those people are going to find out, well, I've never thought about doing it that way before. So you walk away with different things that you didn't even think about before.
Yeah.
And you learn it through not through just sitting there. I'm sorry.
No. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But yeah, so that's just one of the ideas that I have, like, racking around in my brain, and I gotta get like the website together and a better logo than the podcast Mid-Atlantic logo, which is just like some basic image that I got from a program that offers up free logos. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done there. But I think it's going to be worth it. I think that it's definitely going to be I like to go big or go home.
I think I'm pleasantly surprised when you do.
I think so too. I have a lot of experience running conferences and events and stuff like that. So I definitely have I don't have a perfect idea of what I'm doing, but I have a pretty good idea of what I'm doing. Anybody else see that?
What?
Your ghosts.
I don't know. Something like it was like, but I don't.
Dude, that old man's been sitting in the corner the whole time. I thought you knew.
I just didn't even notice.
Oh, wow.
That was weird. That was real weird. Oh, wait. Did you see that? I don't know. Maybe it is dust, but
I think it's dust.
It's probably dust. That's really weird, though. Because there's no fan or anything on it.
They got that poster back there, so I don't know.
That's weird. I'm gonna stick my camera on me from now on, so I can monitor this. I mean, if it happens a lot, then it must be dust. If it keeps replicating itself, but
you keep telling yourself that.
Yeah, that's weird. So anyway, what other stuff have you guys come across that you guys have wrangled with, or good tips that you guys have come across?
Well, one of the things that I've done, I've been podcasting for 3 years, and the past year I've probably been live podcasting. And one of the I have to tell you, live podcasting has brought me a world of time, because when I was recording and then going back and editing the audio, I was so anal about every little and pause and whatnot, and getting rid of all the background noise. But with live podcasting, I've kind of been like, well, if people listen to it live and you fuck up, and then you try to go and fix it, and they tell their friends, oh man, I was listening to this live podcast, and you got to listen to what happened in minute 26, and then they go to minute 26 and it's not there. I'm like, oh great, so now all I can focus on is sound quality. So live podcasting has really changed my life and helped me focus on the quality of sound. So if you ever have the opportunity,
better?
Oh, I like it way better. And if you ever have the opportunity to figure out how to do it or learn how to do it, or if any of you want to learn, I can share some of my knowledge with you.
I do, definitely. I didn't think about that.
Okay.
So what app do you use to make all that happen?
I use the Mixler app. And the thing about Mixler, which is kind of interesting, is that you need to get the sound from whatever program you're using for your co-host to call in on. So like Google Hangout or Skype or whatever it is. You have to figure out how to get the sound into. And normally, if it was from one device to another, you would use a cable, but there's no cable to do that with because it's programs inside your computer. So I had to find a program called Soundflower Bed,
Sunflower. Yeah, I was gonna say that.
and I basically run one channel. Um, I would run your sound in through Soundflower Channel 2, and I run my sound through my mixer, and then it sends it out to Mixler, and you can set up like channel 1 Mixler and channel 2 Mixler, and it comes through perfect. Mixler records it for you, so when you're done, you can export it directly to your laptop or your computer, and then all I do is I just make it sound better than Mixler's recording.
Is this free?
It's free for 1 hour, so you can record 1 hour at a time, as many times as you want during the day. So for me, running a network, I found it to be really awesome because if I end up with a bunch of different shows, you know, they could be at different times during the day, and I don't have to pay for the live broadcasting. But if you want to do more than an hour, you have to pay $5 a month, and it's $5 a month for 3 hours at a time. But that means someone could podcast from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., and then someone else could podcast from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And then someone else could
$5 a month is reasonable.
Yeah, it's pretty reasonable. Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. What if see? Because I'm trying to figure out now. Because with my 1 year anniversary show coming up in May, I plan on having like a Google Hangout chat. Because I'm doing a live event here. Like we're doing a big house party, a big pajama party.
Right.
And I'm gonna do like a 1 to 2 hour event live where like we set up like a stage area and I have previous guests coming to the house. I'm hoping that David will come to be a part of this. And you guys are welcomed as well if you want to get out to South Jersey. But
Hey, you send me a plane ticket. I'm on the flight, buddy.
Give me an address and I'll be there.
But the plan is to stream it live over the internet because part of it is some of my guests won't be able to make it, probably like David, and I'll have like a TV up on the stage area with me, using Google Hangout to bring in like those previous guests and stuff like that. So I'm trying to I figured I would use Google Hangout on Air to make all that happen. Give the people that I know that are going to be coming on, the link. Then they come into the show, we talk, and then they leave, and then at the same time it's broadcasting on YouTube as well.
Every Monday I do a Walking Dead podcast with a woman in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually doing it tomorrow instead of tonight because I got home late from work. But we do Google Hangout on Air, and then I send the Google Hangout on Air audio to Mixler. So we have an audience that watches on YouTube. Well, they watch, but we don't actually have any pictures. I just throw up a picture of The Walking Dead, and they listen. So we have an audience that listens on YouTube, and then an audience that listens on Mixler. So going live is a really great way to expand your audience too, because you have multiple ways for people to listen.
How long did it take you to build up an audience that would listen live?
I'm still building an audience that'll listen live. Sometimes we'll have 30 people in the chat room, and sometimes we'll have 2. One of the things I've found with doing live is you have to be kind of very consistent with the time period that you're going to be broadcasting, and if you have to switch things up, you better tweet 5 times that day that you're not going to be podcasting that day, and you've moved it, because people will start expecting a certain time slot. So
consistency.
Yeah, and the time slots where I've stayed consistent, like with my Constantine podcast, I went to my friend's bookstore, and we would podcast there on Sundays around 2:30. No later than 2:45 were we ever on air, and we always had about a consistent 10 to 15 people listening to it. And then after airing and editing, I'd probably get another 300 downloads from that.
Oh wow! I mean, that's Yeah, I mean, doing the live thing is tough. I mean, well, we're doing a live thing right here, right now. We actually have
Right.
one viewer. Hi, viewer. uh, so I don't know. It's tough to get people to show up, though. I'm very thankful that you guys want to thought enough of this to want to come and show up. So I know I've tried to do Google Hangouts with some of my listeners. Of course, that was like 6 months ago before I had like a stronger base than I have now. Or before, yeah, no, the other way around. Now that I have a stronger base than I did before, it's interesting to see whether or not people would actually show up. Though I think the consistency thing is definitely number one on that list. I mean, how dare you? How dare you not show up to do your free show?
Yes. God
Well,
dang
Joe,
it.
I have a confession. I have dual motives for logging in tonight because this is also not only was I interested in the content of what was going to be discussed, but I'm also kind of watching how this works from this side because I've toyed around with the idea of doing a sort of semi like quasi live show where maybe I have like a panel of guests, so maybe there's 4 or 5 people, and then we all just kind of talk, and then I use that recording as my podcast episode or part of it. So it's educational in 2 ways for me.
Yeah, I definitely. I've got quite a not a whole ton of views from my previous let's talk sponsorships deal, which that one's I think it was supposed to be tomorrow night, but because I'm doing this event for Master Chef Junior, I had to push it back. I think it's next week at next Tuesday at 8 o'clock at night.
What are
If
you doing
anybody
for
wants to-
What are you doing for MasterChef Junior?
So this kid, his name is Andrew Zapley.
Yeah, I saw him.
I saw those pictures. Yeah.
He he's from West Deptford, New Jersey, which is right there. Did anybody else just see that? Maybe that might have been dusk because that was a lot closer to the camera.
I
Yeah,
saw
it's
that. Yeah,
You're
it's
freaking out, man.
I don't know, man, because the picture's great. Look, there's 2 of them right there. Oh my God.
Ooh.
Dude, I'm getting little chills over this. What's
Too
the
much
fuck?
Walking Dead talk. Seeing zombies.
They want the Evil Dead are coming
Dude.
to get you.
This shit was like flying around. Did you not seriously see that?
No.
That's
Dude, I'm not messing around. Like, there was like 2 of them, and they're just like flying. It was like at first I thought it was dust, but then it just like woo, and it just like shot up. You don't see that?
No.
No.
I hope you're saving this for like a blooper reel for your YouTube channel.
Dude, there ain't no blooper about this shit. I don't know what the hell's going on here. Okay, so sorry. Sorry. All right, so anyway, he lives he's from like two neighborhoods down from me, and he I just happened to wake up one night and my wife was watching TV. I was laying on the couch and she just happened to be flipping channels, which isn't normal. And he came across the screen and said West Deptford, New Jersey. I'm like, oh my God! I was like, I gotta look this kid up. And we did, and then he found him on Facebook, found his mom on Facebook, and I contacted them, and they were like, oh, come out to the viewing party. I would love to have you do an interview with Andrew. So I did. I got an interview with Andrew, and then tomorrow night they're doing the finale because he made the finale. So they're doing a viewing party. Yeah, they're doing a viewing party at the school, and they invited me to do an interview with the parents and Andrew, as well as I'm bringing my DJ speakers with me, so that because they have like some crappy speaker system in the gym, but so I'm bringing my speakers. and then I'm going to be hosting. They asked me to host a Q&A session after the fact. So I'll be doing the interview, I'll be recording the interview, and then I'll be recording the Q&A session afterwards.
That's pretty
Cool.
big. That's huge.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. The other thing was I had to I had posted the interview, and then I had like 2 days later I had to take it down because Fox was like, all interviews are supposed to be cleared by us.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, and then I was
Oh.
trying to we were having some issues between me and the woman that they deal with like the PR person, and finally we were able to get our emails. I don't know. It was like apparently my emails are coming through jumbled up, so it wasn't working properly for her, and 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 anyway, so like a week went by before I could post it back up again.
At least you got it back up. That's
Yeah. So and I'm hoping that we could be maybe something else will come out of it. But for right now, I'm just happy to be able to be a part of it, and the school actually wants me to do some speaking events as well because they love like my message and all that stuff with my show. So it's who knows? It gets my foot in the door for some speaking events. And I got to tell you, I am like scared out of my freaking mind. I'm not even shitting around, joking. I've never seen anything like that before.
Gentlemen, I'm gonna have to let you know that I have to hop off here in about a minute because Sleepy Hollow comes on at 9, and I have to. It's the season finale, and I podcast about it for a network called Golden Spiral Media. So,
oh, that's cool.
So I'm gonna have to watch it and take my notes, and the work is never done.
Nope.
Jamie, I would love to sometime maybe pick your brain. I'd love to know more about exactly what your setup is there with this kind of network blogging thing that you're talking about. It's intriguing to me.
Well, if you want,
what's your website, Jamie?
It's a Second Course Media. It's actually secondcoursepodcast.com.
Okay.
I haven't changed the domain yet, but we're Second Course Media. So if you go out to secondcoursepodcast.com, you'll see all the information about all the shows. And I'll put a plug in here before I go. This Thursday, I'm starting a new live podcast about the TV show Survivor. And I'm going to be co-hosting with a guy who was runner-up on Big Brother a couple seasons ago, Spencer Clausen.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so.
Cool.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yes.
Pleasure.
Yeah, nice seeing you, Jamie.
And hopefully we can do this more often, more conversations. And I'll find you all on Facebook and friend you all, and then we can maybe have more of these meetups and talk about our ideas.
I'll set up an event for 2 weeks from now.
That'd be great.
We'll get started.
Sure.
But I should probably get going. I got to get back to working on my book and looking over my shoulder. Real quick, everybody, why don't you go through your websites, for the recording, where people can find you at.
I'm at radio.com.
David?
PassionateDJ.com.
One more time, Jamie.
Secondcoursepodcast.com.
And Sam?
I'm at don'tdwell.org.
And I'm at howtodream.co as well as jpar.co. All right, well, I really appreciate you guys taking the time. I'll set up an event for 2 weeks from now, and hopefully we can get some more people in here.
Nice to meet you guys.
All right.
Bye.
Good
Take
night,
care,
guys.
guys. Good night.
Night.